Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept the humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Param Guru Shri Prabhupada. All glories to the Vaishnava devotees, especially those who have assembled here today. Today we have our own, His Grace Gangaprasad Prabhu, who will be speaking the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's very beautiful because he's one of our own. It's the beginning of a new week, beginning of a new month. And at the same time, to His Grace Gangaprasad Prabhu just reminded me a couple minutes ago, it's also the beginning of Chaturmasya. So we welcome you all to today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Prabhuji, His Grace Gangaprasad Prabhu, you may take it over from here, and Salika Prabhu, you may share the screen. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam to all the assembled devotees. All glories to Guru and Gauranga, all glories to La Prabhupada. All glories to Sri Vyasadeva. Hare Krishna. Om Agyan Timirandaksya Janam Jana Salakaya Chaksuro Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Radhanath Swami Ite Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Ite Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagajatan Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Vibhisha Kambitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shiva Sadisi Gora Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. I'd like to formally welcome all the assembled devotees and wish you all that is in today. Happy Vyas Punima, Guru Punima. Happy beginning of Chaturmasya and happy new month, happy new week like Sadeh Prabhu just mentioned now, and happy of happies. And I beg your permission and blessings that I may diligently execute this service for my purification and for the benefit of the audience. Thank you very much. Today we'll be taking our reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 4, text number 6, which is titled The Process of Creation. Let us do the invocation before reading the Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita or any scripture. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskrityam Naranchaiva Nar Uttamam Devin Sarasatim Vyasa Tatudaya Mudirayet Nasta Preyasa Bradesu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Nastikihi Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So you are welcome once again, and we'll recite the text, then the translation, and purport. Yasya deve para no Buya eva vivis sami Bhagavan Atmama Yaya Yate dam sri jate viswam Novi bhavyam adi swarai Buya eva vivit sami Bhagavan Atma Mayaya Yate dam srijate viswam Novi bhavyam adi swarai Buya eva vivit sami Bhagavan Atma Mayaya Yate dam srijate viswam Duvi bhavyam adishwarai. What's the word transliteration? Buyaha, again. Eva, also. Vivid Sami, I wish to learn. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Atma, personal. Maya, by the energies. Yata, as. Idam, this phenomenal world. Sri Jate, does create. Vishwam, universe. Duvi Bhavyam, inconceivable. Adivai Shorai, by the great demigods. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Jagaguru Prabhupada Ki Jai Ho. I beg to know from you how the personality of Godhead, by His personal energies, creates these phenomenal universes as they are, which are inconceivable even to the great demigods. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In every inquisitive mind, the important question of the creation of the phenomenal world arises. And therefore, for a personality like Maharaj Pariksit, who was to know all the activities of the Lord from his spiritual master, such an inquiry is not uncommon. For every unknown thing, we have to learn and inquire from a learned personality. The question of creation is also one of such inquiries to be made to the right person. The spiritual master, therefore, must be one who is Sarvagna, as stated herein in connection with Sukadev Goswami. Thus, all inquiries on God which are unknown to the disciple may be made from the qualified spiritual master. And here, A practical example is set by Maharaj Pariksit. It was, however, already known to Maharaj Pariksit that everything we see is born out of the energy of the Lord. And we have all learned in the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, Jammadi Asya Yataha. So Maharaj Pariksit wanted to know the process of creation. The origin of creation was known to him. Otherwise, he would not have inquired how the personality of Godhead, by his different energies, creates this phenomenal world. The common man also knows that the creation is made by some creator and is not created automatically. We have no experience in the practical world that a thing is created automatically. Foolish people say that the creative energy is independent and acts automatically, as electrical energy works. But the intelligent man knows that even the electrical energy is generated by an expert engineer in the localized powerhouse. And thus the energy is distributed everywhere under the resident engineer supervision. The long supervision in connection with creation is mentioned even in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 10. And it is clearly said there that material energy is a manifestation of one of many such energies of the Supreme. Parasya Shakti Vivida Suryate. An inexperienced boy may be struck with wonder by seeing the impersonal action of electricity or many other wonderful things conducted by electrical energy. But an experienced man knows that behind the action is a living man who creates such energy. Similarly, the so-called scholars and philosophers of the world may, by mental speculation, present so many utopian theories about impersonal creation of the universe. But an intelligent devotee of the Lord, by studying the Bhagavad Gita, can know that behind the creation is the hand of the Supreme Lord. Just as in the generating electrical powerhouse, there is resident engineer. The research scholar finds out the cause and the effect of everything. But research scholars as great as Brahma, Shiva, Indra, and many other demigods are sometimes bewildered by seeing the wonderful creative energy of the Lord. So what to speak of the tiny mundane scholars dealing in petty things, as there are differences in the living condition of different planets of the universe, and as one planet is superior to another, the brains of the living entities in those respective planets are also of different categorical values. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, one can compare the long duration of life of the inhabitants of Brahma planets, which is inconceivable to the inhabitants of this planet Earth, to the categorical value of the brain of Brahma, G, also inconceivable to any great scientist of this planet. And with such high brain power, even Brahmaji has described in his great Samhita, Brahma Samhita 5.1, as follows: Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachit Ananda Vigraha, Anadi Adi Govindam, Sabakaranam Karanam. There are many personalities possessing the quality of Bhagwan, but Krishna is the supreme because none can excel him. Is the supreme person and his body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. Is the primeval Lord, Govinda, and the cause of all causes. Brahmaji admits Lord Krishna to be the supreme cause of all causes. But persons with tiny brain within this petty planet, Earth, think of the Lord as one of them. Thus, when the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita that he, Lord Krishna, is all in all, the speculative philosophers and mundane wranglers deride him. And the Lord regretfully says, Abhajanante mamuda manusim tanu maasritam Param Baba Ajananto Mama Bhuta Maheshwara. Who deride me when I descend in the human form? They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. Bhagavad Gita 9:11. Brahma and Shiva, and what to speak of other demigods, are bhutas, or powerful created demigods, who manage universal affairs, much like ministers appointed by a king. The ministers may be Shwaras or controllers, but the Supreme Lord is Maheshwara, or the creator of the controllers. Persons with a poor fund of knowledge do not know this, and therefore they have the audacity to deride him because he comes before us by his causeless mercy occasionally and as a human being. The Lord is not like a human being. He is Sachitananda Vigraha, or the absolute personality of Godhead. And there is no difference between his body and his soul. He's both the power and the powerful. Maharaj Pariksit did not ask his spiritual master, Sukadev Goswami, to narrate Lord Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. He wanted to hear first about the creation of the Lord. Sukadev Goswami did not say that the king should hear about the direct transcendental pastimes of the Lord. The time was very short, and naturally, Sukadev Goswami could have gone directly to the 10th canto to make a shortcut of the whole thing, as generally done by the professional reciters. But neither the king nor the great speaker of the Bhagavatam jumped up like the organizers of Bhagavatam. Both of them proceeded systematically so that both future readers and hearers might take lesson from the example of the procedure of reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Those who are in control of the external energy of the Lord, or in other words, those who are in the material world, must first of all know of the external energy of the Lord. First of all, know how the external energy of the Lord is working under the direction of the Supreme Personality. And afterwards, one may try to enter into the activities of his internal energy. The mundaners are mostly worshippers of Durga Devi, the external energy of Krishna, but they do not know that Durga Devi is but the shadow energy of the Lord. Behind our astonishing display of material workings is the direction of the Lord, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9:10. The Brahma Samhita affirmed that Durga Shakti is working by the direction of Govinda. And without his sanction, the powerful Durga Shakti cannot move in a blade of grass. Therefore, the neophyte devotee, instead of jumping at once to the platform of transcendental pastime presented by the internal energy of the Lord, may know how great the Supreme Lord is by inquiring about the process of creative energy. Please check the interruption. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, also, description of creation or creative energy and the Lord hand in it are explained. And the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita has warned the neophyte devotee to be seriously on guard against the pitfall of neglecting knowledge about Krishna in regards to how he is. Only when one knows Lord Krishna's greatness can one firmly put one's unflinching faith in him. Otherwise, like the common man, even the great leaders of men will mistake Lord Krishna for one of the many demigods or a historical personality or a myth only. The transcendental person of the Lord in Vrindavan or even at Dwarka are relishable for persons who have already qualified themselves in advanced spiritual technique, and the common man may be able to attain such a plane by the gradual process of service and inquiries, as we shall see in the behavior of Maharaj Parikit. Mukan karoti wa chalam, pangam langa ya tegirim, ya kripatma mahawande, shi guru dinatarinam, ya kripatma mahawande, paramananda madhava, Sri Krishna, Chaitanyam, Ishwaraha. So I welcome all of you, and the text we have is constrained by time, but we only do the needful by mentioning salient points that will be beneficial for our self-evaluation. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is mentioned Sadhu Sangha, Sava Sastra Koi, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sava Siti Koi. That the association of devotees is greatly glorified in all scriptures. And that even a moment association in that association enables the seed of perfection to be planted in the living entity. So I was just flipping through my Bhakta's training manual, and I came under the segment that mentioned about satsangam. And I studied through it, and I saw it has some relevance to what we are reading today. And in it, he mentioned one must associate with devotees regularly. That is sadhu sangha. Regularly means often as one possibly can in one's given situation. So there is no mandate that you have to be slave. You have to use your discretion and assess what your convenience is. 2, the more one associates with sincere devotees, the faster the progress one will make in Krishna consciousness. 3, satsang does not mean that the devotees simply gather together physically. What is done in that association is important. That's what the text we are reading today is opening our understanding to. The basis for satsang is Sankirtan, Krishna Katha, and Seva. Rajalpa, mundane talk, should be avoided. 4, one should humble oneself in satsang to submissively hear, and one should not be eager to speak or simply speak. 5, association of devotees is our most prized possession, without which our life becomes dry and meaningless. One is sure to drift from Krishna consciousness if one does not regularly associate. 6, association may be in person, vapu, or, i.e., the physical presence of the Guru and Vaishnavas, or in other words, vani, vapu or vani, the instruction of the Guru and the Vaishnavas. Both are important. Satsang will be meaningful when one tries sincerely to practice in one's life what one carefully heard. And number 8, one should accept a senior devotee who can be a friend and a guide. So this is what we find ourselves in, that Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikit, they are representing this concept, satsangam. And Rupa Goswami in his Upadeshamrita had mentioned that devotees, they exchange or share love in 6 different ways. And we can see how that is connected to what Parikit Maharaj and Sukadev Goswami are exhibiting. He mentioned 6 points, but I'll take point 3 and 4 specifically. He says, opening one's mind to the devotees. That's number 3. Number 4, inquiring from them about the confidential service of the Lord. Order 2 is giving charity and accepting charity that can be offered. And number 5 is honoring prasadam and then accepting prasadam also. But the Prabhupada explains what Guhyam Akyati Prichati means is an experienced devotee explains, and an inexperienced devotee learns from him. You can see that that is what is in the text we read. Experienced devotee, he speaks, and the inexperienced devotee learns. This is for our own benefit and consumption. And so, in the text we are reading, we can see that a lot of emphasis is made in the lengthy purport, but Prabhupada started by speaking about in every inquisitive mind, the important question of creation of the phenomenal world arises. And therefore, a personality like Maharaj Pariksit, who was to know all the activities of the Lord from his spiritual master, such an inquiry is uncommon. And Prabhupada also further explains that for every unknown thing, not limited to creation of the universe, every unknown thing, I was mentioning to some devotee, I said, even if you have to sell bean cake, you have to go and learn it. Otherwise, you can concoct. Some people make bean cake here, and they add granulated fried cassava to increase the volume. Well, that is adulterated. So even for bean cake, you have to go and learn. For every unknown thing, one has to inquire. So it brings us to the point that Krishna mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 34, when he said, Tad vidhi pranipate na paripasena sevaya upadeshanti te jnana janina tattva dashina. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Seeing the truth is part of what makes them experience. And we who have not seen, it simply makes us know that we are inexperienced. And so we have to learn. So in the purport, Prabhupada mentioned a lot of things. But he said one has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. You have to meet a guru to receive knowledge. That's exactly what Pariksit Maharaj is doing. And Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, very striking point in this same paragraph, the spiritual master therefore must be one who is Sarvagya, all-knowing, knowledgeable. And as stated herein before, in connection with Sukadev Goswami, very knowledgeable. Thus, all inquiries on God which are unknown to the disciple may be made from the qualified spiritual master. So, Sukadev Goswami is singled out here as a model of a speaker, a model of a teacher, a model of a guru. And also, Pariksit Maharaj is also singled out by mentioning that thus, all inquiries on God which are unknown to the disciple may be made from the qualified spiritual master. And here, the practical example is set by Maharaj Pariksit. Practical example. So Pariksit is also a role model of one who is making inquiries. And what we have to learn from this is how we can make it the way they have done or something near it. At least if we don't go near that, we can improve on our immediate approach to our spiritual inquiries. So in that wise, we have one little write-up from Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 5, that speaks about how these teachers that we go to approach, how and what they should do in representing their lineage. So in Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 1, text number 5, it's mentioning 115. I'm taking the purport of Prabhupada. That is the purport of when the sages of Nemisaranya approached Sutta Goswami. And Prabhupada made some very striking point. This point I'm mentioning for many reasons. One is how Sukadev Goswami is representing Vyasadeva, who we are celebrating Vyas Purnima on his behalf, and also Guru Purnima that we are celebrating today as a representation of Vyasadeva. So in the purport, third line, Prabhupada mentioned that Sri Vyasadeva is the original spiritual perceptor for all men. The original spiritual perceptor for all men. And all other perceptors are considered to be his representatives. That is what the disciplic succession actually defines. A representative is one who can exactly present the viewpoint of Sri Vyasadeva. So all authorities are representing Vyasadeva. Sri Vyasadeva impregnated the message of Bhagavatam onto Srila Sukadev Goswami. And Sutta Goswami had it from him, Sri Sukadev Goswami. So Prabhupada goes further to say, I'm not saying the purport on the screen. If you can share, so everybody can benefit from it. From the third line in the purport, it goes down further. All bona fide representatives of Sri Vyasadeva in chain of disciplic succession are to be understood to be Goswamis. Sukadev Goswami, Sutta Goswami. These Goswamis restrain all their senses and they stick to the path made by the previous acharyas. The Goswami do not deliver lectures on the Bhagavatam capriciously. Rather, they execute their service most carefully, following their predecessors who delivered the spiritual message unbroken to them. Those who listen to the Bhagavatam, they put questions to the speaker in order to elicit the clear meaning. But this should not be done in a challenging spirit. One must submit questions with a great regard for the speaker and the subject matter. So we can see that celebrating Vyasadeva is as good as celebrating the disciplic succession and celebrating the lineage of gurus. But the import and the benefit of this to our today's reading is that it gives us clue on the personality of Vyasadeva, Vyasadeva one, Sukadev Goswami, his son, and an authority, and Maharaj Parikit, the inquirer or the perfect listener. In Subodhini, it's mentioned that there are characteristics or qualities that a perfect speaker must possess. And there are also qualities that a perfect listener or hearer has to possess. We have from Bhagavatam different speakers at different circumstances and different hearers at different circumstances. People like Sukadev Goswami, Sutta Goswami, and Lord Brahma are distinct references made. But for the purpose of what we are reading, we take Sukadev Goswami as our model ideal speaker for today. And what are the qualities we find in Sukadev Goswami that has been enunciated as his qualities? Because of time constraints, I will mention the qualities, but I'll give reading reference so we can ascertain facts on our own. The first quality mentioned about Sukadev Goswami as an ideal speaker is that he is a devotee of the Lord, a great devotee of Lord Krsna. You can refer from second canto Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 3, text 16. Second quality, he is an ideal hearer. He learned Bhagavatam from his guru, Sri Vyasadeva. We just read that now from that 1:15. And you can take reference from this, Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, chapter 7, text 11. Read at your convenience and ascertain facts. 3, he is experienced. He personally assimilated Bhagavatam by experience. This is referred in 1st Canto, chapter 2, text number 3. He is compassionate. He spoke Bhagavatam out of great compassion for materialists to enable them to cross samsara. Reference to this also is 1, 2, 3. 1st Canto, chapter 2, text number 3. He is an ideal preacher. He stays only long enough for a cow to be milked. He has no business with householders, save and except to enlighten them in transcendental knowledge. Reference 148, Srimad Bhagavatam. Other quality, he appreciates relevant inquiries and enlivened by them. When questions were asked by Parikshit, he was appreciative of the fact. He told him, these kind of questions benefit and sanctify the whole world. And he was enlivened by it. And we can make reference of this from 2nd Canto, chapter 2, text number 1. He has confidence in previous acharyas. It's not like, yes, he's a Sabagnya, he's a know-all man, but he quotes previous acharyas in his references. And he mentioned that in 2:110, I will present what I have heard from my father. See, it makes reference. It's not like somebody who is full of himself and he assumes he can do anything. Yes, he is, but in humility, he makes references to previous acharyas. Other quality, he is encouraging. He informed Parikshit that he is qualified to receive Srimad Bhagavatam, and that he has 7 days to perfect his life. Parikshit would have been little apprehensive. How can I do this in 7 days? But he encouraged him and told him, do not worry. Maharaj Kantuanga had few moments, and you have 7 days. So in 7 days, a lot can be achieved. So he encouraged him. And then he quotes appropriate examples. It's not, it doesn't gesticulate or speculate. He quotes appropriate examples. Maharaj Katwanga was able to attain perfection even within a moment. You have 7 days. Don't worry. Srimad Bhagavatam 2:113. And self-example. He used himself as example. And that is what is referred to in learning and teaching as experiential knowledge. His personal experience. He shared experiential knowledge, self-example. Quoted his own example to show the superiority of Bhakti Yoga. Srimad Bhagavatam 2:1, 8 and 9. And he is systematic. Means he explained how Bhakti Yoga is better than all other process of yoga. The last quality we read from his own example. And reference is Srimad Bhagavatam 2:1 to 2:3. And he's frank. It's not like giving false hope to the disciple. Frank. So he told Maharaj Parikshit to cut off attachments and not to be afraid of death. Honest and frank. And he depends on the Lord. He prays to Lord Rishikesh, may the Lord become situated in my words, which is the same prayer Prabhupada offered when he arrived the shore of Boston. He said he doesn't know how they will understand the message, but that Krishna should empower him that the words he speak will make meaning to them. And that is what we are all benefiting from. Sukadev Goswami is an acharya in this type of prayer. So he says, it depends on the Lord. And the next quality, seeking empowerment and blessing from the Lord by prayers. 2:4, 12 to 24. This same chapter we are reading. And then he's considerate. He explains other parts such as Ashtanga Yoga for the benefit of the audience. So it's not parochial. It's not like fanatical. It's considerate. It considers others people also and give them a sense of belonging. And he quoted other conversations. He cites instances and references when similar scenario were enacted. So he quoted circumstances like Brahma and Narayan, Brahma and Narad Muni, and like this. So he said he quoted conversation like Brahma, Lord Sambandha, 2:9, 4 to 45, and Brahma Narad Sambandha, 2:5-7. And he is knowledgeable. Answers all the variety of questions of Parikit related to the Lord. This is what you will find this in the same qualities of Sutta Goswami. You find the same in the qualities of Lord Brahma, who are ideal speakers and any speaker. So onus is on us to refer this and find how it can be relevant in our own preaching life. That is the purpose of hearing. It's mentioned, you should not just be only hearers, you should be doers. So if we know this, it should be useful for us. And the purpose of this thing that we are reading, inquiries, everything about this text we are reading is question and answer. And the end of this canto of Bhagavatam, it says, Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. That's chapter 10 of this second canto. Srimad Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. Bhagavatam is answer to all questions. So it's not a coincidence that we are seeing this when questions are asked and answer follows suit. And the personalities that present the question, their mood, their approach, and the system they apply. We can learn that also, it will benefit us. And also as preachers, the mood, the approach of those who are ideal speakers. It will help us and will become authorities as well. So next to this is ideal hearers. We have heard about ideal speakers, ideal hearers. References are made also. There are scenarios, incidents where we have ideal hearers. It's not limited to what we are reading now. We have people like Vidura, Maitreya, Uddhava, and Krsna, Maitreya, and Krsna. But here, it is compressed to reference to the present situation. So he mentioned ideal hearers as naming Saranya sages headed by Sunakarishi. Then he mentioned Mahaparikit, who is our hero for today's lesson, and then also Narad Muni. So if we take Mahaparikit because he's our hero for today, we can see what qualities he possesses as an ideal hearer. And that will help us also in our approach to hearing, in fulfilling that very Bhagavad Gita that we had. Tadvidi, Pranipatina, approach to know. In the proper mention that the path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in line of disciplic success from the Lord himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. That's why I read about Vyasadeva as the original spiritual preceptor in 115. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord to his disciple. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process. And then in the ending of the purport, Prabhupada mentioned that one must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master. And when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. Not only the knowledge, but understanding. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. Blind following. You don't have to be a zombie, and you don't have to make absurd inquiries also. Not only should one hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one must get a clear understanding from him. Hear and get clear understanding in submission and service and inquiry. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind to the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiry becomes perfect. This is how Prabhupada ended the purport. Reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries. The one who knows, he speaks, and the one who does not know, he learns. So it's a perfect combination. So Maharaj Pariksit and Sukadev Goswami, they gave us model that we can benefit from. So the qualities that Maharaj Pariksit exemplified, he was determined to hear about Krishna. Determined to hear about Krishna. When we read first canto, chapter 19, you can see chapter 19 and 18. After the course of the Brahmana, what ensued and all of that, how he took it and what he resolved to do. So we can get reference of this determination from 1:19:15, first canto, chapter 19, text 15. And he is respectful. He's respectful in the sense that he expressed his fortune to meet Sukadev Goswami and inquire from him respectfully. One 19:32. 1:19:32, respectfully. And he is praiseful. He glorifies Sukadev Goswami. 1:19:34. He is compassionate. His questions are for the benefit of others also. Sukadev Goswami also, the speaker, is compassionate, not did he speak only for the benefit of his student, he spoke for the benefit of everybody. 1:19:37. He is grateful for the appearance of the sages and Sukadev Goswami. 1:19:13 and 1:19:35. He is humble. Although king, qualified Kshatriya, but consider himself to be unworthy. It's a very contradictory situation. A king considering himself like nobody and is eager to hear. Eager to hear. Kata Yaswa Mahabhaga 283. He's inquisitive. Inquire about Ashtanga yoga process. 2:122. And he appreciates speaker. Please continue Harikata as it is dispelling my ignorance. He appreciates the speaker. Who will not be enthusiastic to speak more when your audience is making you on, fire on? You'll find this in 2:4:5. Second canto, chapter 4, text 5. That's the one we read on Friday. And he inspires speaker to speak more. I'm not fatigued due to tasting nectar from your mouth. No more hunger and thirsts. 2:8-26. He has faith in the power of Harikatha. Krishna, in the form of Harikatha, enters into the heart through ears and completely washes away all contamination. Do not deter is in 1st Canto, chapter 2. Is also here in 2nd Canto, chapter 8, text 1-6. And he's eager to hear, he's eager to know the Lord in details. He asks questions about creation in Canto 2, chapter 4, the one we are reading now, and many other questions in chapter 2, Canto 2, chapter 2, text 8. And lastly, he is never fatigued. Name Sava Parayanti. He's not fatigued, he's not tired. Because he was determined in the beginning and he just wants nothing but the end result of what he has set out to approach. Now, one very good thing that is mentioned in the purport we read, he said Maharaj Pariksit did not jump to ask about the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. He did not jump. It was systematic. Nor did Sukadev Goswami also spur him to make such inquiries. Maharaj Pariksit did not ask his spiritual master, Sukadev Goswami, to narrate the Lord Krishna's pastime in Vrindavan. He wanted to hear first about the creation of the Lord. So if you go to the preface of this Bhagavatam, Prabhupada also mentioned that systematic study of Srimad Bhagavatam, that we should read systematically, stage by stage, Canto 1 to 9, so we can know about the different workings of God and his energy before we go to the confidential pastimes in Vrindavan. And Sri Rajiva Goswami mentioned that Pariksit Maharaj did not ask about Krishna's pastime in Vrindavan because he didn't want to plunge into separation. Just like Sukadev Goswami also did not mention Radharani in all his narrations of Bhagavatam, because the moment he says Radha, it will go into separation or lose external consciousness. So they are cautious, they are systematic, and they have sequence of approach. This also will be beneficial to all of us. And from the little we have mentioned, even though the purport is very lengthy, but if you take it here and there, it is about questions, answers, and those who are not devotees, impersonalists, and Mayavadis who minimize Krishna. What we are thinking as devotees, we are talking about the activities of devotees. That's why I started with Satsanga. The Association of Non-Devotees are Satsanga. And Mahaprabhu recommends that a Vaishnava Achar, he avoids a Satsanga Tyag. So with this, we have to do our self-evaluation and also be able to identify our required area of improvement. But in all, from this episode, it is a luta continua. We have to continue this because victory is certain. Maharaj Pariksit was victorious in the end. We also can be victorious. Happy Vyas Purnima or Guru Purnima, and happy beginning of Chaturmasya. Thank you very much. If there are questions, comments, or points of rectification, please, it is most welcome. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Gangaprasad Prabhu. It's very beautiful. I hope Salika Prabhu is also there. Prabhu.
Yes, I'm here, Prabhuji.
Okay, Hare Krishna. I know there are two classes of people who deliver knowledge, give message to other people. And there are, these people are referred to as teachers, lecturers. And today I find Gangaprasad Prabhu to be a master teacher, because lecturers, they just come and speak and they leave it up to you, the listener or hearer, to figure out how to do things. But teachers, they take time to explain things, and also give you step by step how to do it. So it's very interesting to hear from you today. And I will urge devotees to kindly go back to listen to this tape, which I obviously will, because you gave step-by-step process to understanding and practicing this Krishna consciousness. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. So if devotees have questions, comments, realizations, please, you may do so. Gangaprasad Prabhu, there is one specific word I picked from Srila Prabhupada's, like you rightly said, elaborate purport, and that is capricious, which is kind of big word. Is not like usual street word we come across, but I put it the definition of that word in the chat room. And it's very interesting Srila Prabhupada used that word, because capricious, as I put in the chat room, says given to sudden and unaccountable changes of mood or behavior. So Srila Prabhupada was referring to Goswamis who speak the Bhagavatam, but they don't speak it capriciously. That is, they do not give their own accounts. They do not make changes to what the previous acharyas have said. So in that regard, my question is from that particular angle, that due to time, place, and circumstance, certain things may be adjusted, not changed, adjusted, for people to understand what is being said. When an adjustment is made, and when the adjustment is made, could that be considered as deviating from the previous acharya? That is my question, Prabhuji.
Yeah, this question, thank you very much for that. This question have been asked, or this type of question have been asked many a time, and answers have been given. And it is mentioned about the instruction and details. Details may vary according to time, place, and circumstance. But the main message, the point is never changed. It's just like what we read now. Parikshit Maharaj is asking about the creation of the universe, how it is done, and even how many demigods are bewildered not knowing this. And Sukadev Goswami also diligently answered him, but he was also making references, because this kind of question, Brahma had asked Narayan, Narad Muni asked Brahma, and he has been on and on. The sages of Nini Saranya asked Sutta Goswami also. Answers may change according to circumstance, but the concept, the main point, is never changed. That is what it means. It's not capricious. They know how to give the details. It's just like he said, it is a must for a disciple to accept a guru if he wants to make advancement in Krishna consciousness. But the detail of how you accept guru varies, isn't it? Accept guru is accept guru. And that very statement that I mentioned now became very clear to me that during COVID, there's nothing like Swaha. Devotees were getting initiation via Zoom, online. But there's no deviation. They are getting initiated, they are connecting to the spiritual succession, but they are getting it online. So that is the example of what capricious and changes according to time, place, and circumstance could explain. I don't know if that sheds light on your inquiries.
Excellently. Yes, it does. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you too.
Yeah. Now, if you may shed a little bit light on this statement Sri Prabhupada made, which you also highlighted in the purport, that those who know, they speak, they teach, and those who do not know, they listen, they learn. So my question is, if that happens to be the only situation that one has to hear, then if myself speaking, I have spent like some years in ISKCON, and somebody who joins just about a month ago, obviously, I should know more than the 1 month-old person. If the 1 month-old person in devotional service is speaking, do I have to hear him or her?
Beautiful.
And if that is the case, then how do we really understand those who know speak and those who do not know
Listen.
and to learn? Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Your questions are very, very insightful. And I have a personal experience and realization of this kind of setting. Sometimes we judge who know by how far or how long. But my personal devotional experience is that I've seen that, yes, I've spent quite a number of years in ISKCON, but I did not subject myself sufficiently to hearing. And my younger God brothers, they daily hear Srimad Bhagavatam, they are churning it, and they are enjoying it. And so when they speak, what should I do? I should consider that they are young and not listen to them, or don't you know I'm your senior? There's one humor that somebody made. I like to cite this a lot. A Brahmana is very conscious and brags about his volume of knowledge, isn't it? And a Kshatriya is proud of his prowess and conquests. And a Vaishya, money talks, bullshit walk. That is understanding. But a Sudra, he has no knowledge. He's not allowed to do many devotional things. He has no strength. He can't conquer anything. Even his senses, he can't conquer. He does not have money. So what should a Sudra be proud of? When a Sudra assesses himself, he will see no money, then he resort to, don't you know I'm your senior? You don't know, sir, senior you. And somewhere he said, what has the old age of Methuselah got to do with the wisdom of Solomon? That is where the answer lies. It's not how far, but how much have you applied yourself within the period? And you should be able to appreciate. Take the example of Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami was appointed only because his father got killed by Lord Balaram in the assembly where they were speaking Bhagavatam. And the sages protested, oh, this cannot be done. And Balaram said, these are his oversights. He explained it. But if you people have understood the oversight, it means your hearing is beneficial. And so if you want, I can bring him back to life. They say, no, no, no. You have perfect authority to do what you have done, but give us a replacement for him. Sutta Goswami was not among the elders in that forum, but Balaram appointed Sutta as the representative of Ramasana Sutta. So if we judge by age and how long, we'll be losing. But humility, like we read in the beginning about satsang. Satsang comprises of 3 contents. Sankirtan, in leading and hearing Sankirtan, there's no seniority. Sankirtan is the only forum I see that envy, enmity, everything die when you come to Sankirtan. Neutrality, no age, nothing. Just there's a lead singer and there's chorus. You join. Or will you say become my younger one? It's just like recently, we were in Vrindavan, Salika myself, Salika Prabhu, you are a witness. We were in Mangalati, and Vishnu Prabhu was called to chant Mangalati. And that Mangalati is so ecstatic that people were held spellbound. Oh, will we say because it's Vishnu that we should not go for Mangalati? No, that is pride. Humility is the mother of all virtue. So we should humble ourselves, forget about age. If you're able to get Sankirtan, you're able to get Hare Katha or Krishna Katha, and you have opportunity to do seva. Srila Krishna Pad was always washing pots when he joined. And Kavichandra Maharaj, until my recent encounter with him in Lagos, when he comes to Lagos, he goes only to the kitchen area and he personally washes the pots. These are examples. So if we think more of age, we'll be losing. Just go where the nectar is flowing and you drown in nectar. This is my humble input. I don't know if it makes any input in your question.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope we are listening, not just listening, but hearing and observing, so that we can actually understand these things and put them into practice. Thank you so much for the explanation and the in-depth knowledge shared.
Thank you.
His Grace Ras Vilas Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Sare Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Gangaprasad Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandava Pranam.
Congrats to you. Today's topic has been very, very elaborate. I have been on and off, but my network is not stable. And I also want to apologize for the disturbances. Sometimes I go off and come on, but I forget to mute myself. And questions that have come forth and the answers given are so enlightening, especially you said, what has the age of Methuselah got to do with the wisdom of Methuselah? Something very deep I've just been thinking about. And my question would be, when we are reading out the characteristics of Sukadeva Goswami, you mentioned one aspect which I captured, that he cites perfect examples. At a point, he uses himself to do the teaching by citing examples related to himself. Then I wanted to ask that if I am a preacher or maybe I'm sitting on a vyasa and I'm speaking, and I have to use myself as an example to cite instances, what difference does it make about maybe singing my own glories, which we know in ISKCON, devotees are not supposed to do that. You are not supposed to sing your own glories. What difference does it make that I use myself to cite an instance whilst giving class and then speaking my own glory? And if there should be any differences, how can one speak and in a situation where he needs to use himself as an instance without speaking his own glories? I don't know if my question is well constructed.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It's a very, very important question. And you already answered part of it, because part of what we don't do in the temple is to glorify others in front of the deities, not to speak of glorifying ourselves. So a preacher is not preaching to glorify himself. In teaching, there's what they call method. You must be able to understand what is the requirement of the moment. And you have to now cite what is relevant to that requirement, not to do self-glorification. Like when Sukadeva Goswami was mentioning about himself, the situation he was mentioning was very derogatory of himself. He was a monist. But by hearing Bhagavatam, he became a devotee. So look at that kind of scenario. He was not glorifying. He cited himself very well, but it was not, give me a round of applause. No. I was lost, but I was helped. I was found. What would that mean to his audience? It means that the audience also can be lost and it can be found. So that is what method means. That it's just like this example, I like it a lot. Jesus Christ came with volume of knowledge that is called beatitude. He wants to teach a big congregation, more than 5,000. And he was fired up. Today we are going to Coast Locust. When Jesus came to the scene, first, he surveyed. He looked at what is the mood, the face expression of the people. And he realized they waited for long, they will be gone soon, and they are hungry. You know, there are some Bhagavatam classes you go to, especially in Vrindavan. When the speaker is speaking for more than 9 o'clock, everybody sneaks out to go and take prasadam because he has exceeded his time. So Jesus came at late hour. But Jesus was smart enough to know that this preaching won't work today. We have to postpone it. But we have to do something that will impart in the people. He said these people will go soon because of going to look for food. So he's asked the disciple, what is it that you have there that we can serve these people? And they brought 2 fishes and 5 loaves or whatever the combination is. I'm not very accurate about the statistics, but 2 and 5 is the figure. And he collected it. He took from them. He didn't give them. He took from them and he offered it by blessing it. And he gave it to them, 2 fishes and 5 loaves to feed 5,000 people, and 12 baskets full is remaining. What do you think about this? What is your assessment? He didn't preach by word, but he preached by action. That is what method does in preaching. Not only by words, you have to use whatever is relevant for the audience to understand. You apply it. But self-glorification, you are very right. No. What you have experienced in devotional service that can be of benefit to other devotees is devotional. It's not self-praise. I don't know if you can run in between the 10 lines.
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. It's very, very clear to me.
Okay, so this is what I can mention. There may be other senior devotees who have contribution to this because your question is very, very important. Very, very significant question. So if there are some elderly devotees, I can see Prabhu Varahacharya is there, and there may be other devotees too who are here. Let me just confirm. And then they can make contributions because your question is beneficial. Loka Mangala is sanctified the whole atmosphere. This question is powerful, important.
Thank you so much, His Grace Gangaprasad Prabhu. One thing that really gives me some enthusiasm to listening to Srimad Bhagavatam is I have some sort of a crazy mind. I'm always thinking of something, and therefore I have so many ideas. And when I listen to classes, and I oftentimes actually, somebody will say something to buttress or support the ideas I have, and that gives me so much joy because the answer you gave to Rasvilas Prabhu is so satisfying to me in particular, probably much more than the questioner himself, in the sense that I've always been thinking that as devotees, we need to do self-introspection and self-retrospection. In other words, we should find out where we were before and where we are at, and use ourselves as examples when necessary when we're talking to people about Krishna. Because who we are today, probably we were complete opposite some years back. Now, like for myself, it's very difficult for me to smell fish. But here I am. I was enjoying fish like anything some time ago, but now I cannot smell it. So now I can use that to tell somebody that You know, I cannot stand the smell of fish, but I used to enjoy it some time ago, but now I don't. And why? It's because of this, that. So that does not mean that I am praising myself to that person, but I'm also trying to convince that particular person I'm speaking to that the process works. So thank you so much, His Grace Gangaprasad.
That is what is referred to in Sanskrit teaching as experiential knowledge.
Yes.
Experiential knowledge. You learn from experience, and they also can experience. In the end, it's not ego trip. It's about preaching that this is practicable.
Yeah.
Thank you for that contribution.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji. So we go to His Grace Hare Chakra Prabhu, please. You may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Dandava
Krishna,
Pranam.
Prabhu.
All
Dandava
glory to
Pranam.
Guru, glory to Prabhupada, and all
All
glory to
glory
the
to-
assembled devotees.
Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
thank you very much for your, what do we call it, professor-like.
He is a professor.
Yeah,
Uh,
in-depth, I mean, what do we call it, explanations. Yeah, but my question is in line with what Ras Vilas just asked, because we've been reading, and even today in today's test, you were talking about how we don't have to make up things by ourselves. We must always follow their previous acharyas and whatever. And so sometimes we make reference, and Rupa Goswami said, and Jiva Goswami said, and Sanatana Goswami said, and this Goswami said, and this person said, all these acharyas. So does that mean that those of us who are trying to practice devotional service now, we are not supposed to get any realization where we can also say, and Gangaprasad said that you have, if Gangaprasad has been able to come up to a level where he's also like displaying real, I mean, what do we call it? Real tenets of devotion. So can't he become also like a representation of the acharyas for us to make reference to him? Does that mean we just have to always refer to the acharyas without even expecting to also get what we call realizations?
Realization.
Which, yeah, realizations that can also, I mean, be quoted by people. Do I make my question clear?
yes, Prabhu. Very exciting point. Thank you very much. It's like expanding on what Ras Vilas Prabhu asked, expansion of it. And he's already answered. You also have given answer to it. It is a ipso facto referral. And we can see examples. Our humility is that when we quote our experience, we make it for benefit of people, not self-glorification. It's a little bit of booby trap. And we should be mindful about it. It's not wrong. Look at what Sutta Goswami said in 1344. He quoted himself, but he made mention of salient point, which you have mentioned here. He said, O lady Brahmanas, when Sukadev Goswami recited Bhagavatam in the presence of Emperor Parikshit, I heard him with rapt attention. And thus, by his mercy, you see, there's humility here. I learned Bhagavatam from that great and powerful sage. He now came, now I shall. He makes himself authority. Now I shall try to make you hear the same thing as I learned it from him and as I've realized it. So if you take this, Sukadev Goswami makes similar reference also. So it is not wrong, but we should not oversight the fact that we can get into ego trip. And if we are very sastric and we see how same thing has been done by other preachers then we'll be guided and we'll be able to use it. That's why I call it experiential knowledge. What Sutta Goswami is saying here is experiential knowledge. How I had it and how I realized it, I'll try to present. He's not saying he's going to present his own ideas. So I don't know, you have answered the question rightly yourself. I'm only expanding on it. And as Prabhu Sahadev also have given credence to it. So when it is necessary, your point is to make for understanding. I think inside this text we read today, and even in the other one that I read, understanding is required, not just to hear. So whatever will make your audience to understand, you help them. That is the point. But not that we'll get into ego trip and then we'll start making show of ourselves that we have arrived. We are the macho guys in town like this. So that is my understanding. Somebody else may have input to make in this regard because these are very critical devotional points.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you for the question and thank you for the answer. Gangaprasad Prabhu, say, I'm really enjoying the Sangha today because just like Hare Prabhu was asking, it's actually happening in ISKCON today and maybe in ISKCON yesterday and obviously ISKCON tomorrow also. I've heard so many gurus make reference to other gurus' statements. They're living together in this very dispensation. But sometimes you may hear Rathnat Maharaj quote Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. Just yesterday, we were reading from Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita, chapter 38. And as we were done reading, we were sharing, and one Mataji made reference to one devotee, a disciple of His Holiness Devamrita Maharaj. And so she made a reference to him. He's not a Goswami. He's not a sannyasi. Excuse me, say he's like an ordinary devotee. But he gave a very nice analogy that made so much sense to this Mataji who was in the class. And so she was making reference to that. She didn't have to make reference to what Sutta Goswami had said, because probably what Sutta Goswami has said has no relevance to what was being questioned, because the question this lady was making reference to was about somebody had asked a question how we can use technology like internet to help ourselves in devotional service. And the answer and the analogy he gave made so much sense and it was so much practical. So she made a reference to this particular devotee. So I think we should learn to make reference to each other, especially when our contemporary or present-day devotees are speaking and making sense to us, and it's practical to our devotional life. We should do that. And one more thing I want to share, because Ganga, I had never read this and I had not heard from other devotees, but thank Krishna, we read it yesterday. When Gangaprasad Prabhu was talking about Lord Jesus Christ looking at the situation and he knew that, okay, this time preaching, speaking is not going to help, so let's do this. And then he had 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread, blessed and served 5,000 or 3,000 people, and there still were like 12 basketful left. So one time Srila Prabhupada was with his disciples and they had performed kirtan and they were hungry, they were thirsty, they were tired. So Shamsundra Prabhu, our own Mother Malati's ex-husband, there was a coconut tree. This was in India. there was a coconut tree there. So Shamsudra Prabhu climbed the coconut tree and then plucked one of the coconuts. So they peeled it, they cut it open, and then the devotees started drinking from the coconut. So I drink and I pass it on to Gangaprasad Prabhu. Gangaprasad Prabhu also drinks. So all the devotees drank from this single coconut, and the juice never got empty. I had never heard this, but we read it yesterday. It's in Sri Prabhupada's Lilamrita, chapter 38. So thank you for the question and the opportunity for me to share this with you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sade Prabhu. Your point and Hari Chakra Prabhu's points, they are very relevant. And if you look at devotional etiquette, Nityananda Prabhu thought we should be able to find even a spark of good quality in other devotees. What we should be humble, not sing our own praises. So we can quote other devotees, yes, like this lady now you said, quoted Devamrita Swami. Philosophically, what he has quoted Devamrita Swami of saying is Yukta Vairagya. That is using everything in service of Krishna. But Devamrita Swami may not have used the philosophical terminology, but he exemplified and it makes sense to her. And if she's able to use it in her own devotional life, so has he not achieved preaching to make somebody a devotee? You understand? And our own experience also, it is better that people quote us than we quote ourselves, because what we quote ourselves can trigger our ego. But all these points are required. I can tell you this, when I came back from India in 1988, in Nigerian Yatra, the standard of judging right or wrong, Omkara Prabhu said, Pariki Prabhu said, Vasudev Prabhu said, it becomes a yardstick to measure. But what you are measuring, is this scriptural? You understand? But when this sastric study started now, we started seeing how we can quote people who quoted something in the scripture. You understand? You quote what people quote that is scripturally relevant. Do you understand? That can be done.
Yeah.
It's not wrong. And so that is why you say that many gurus, many people, they are quoting. But if you look closely to what they quote, it has philosophical undertone.
Yes.
So this is the etiquette we should learn, and we can use it.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much, His Grace Gangaprasad Prabhu. Anyone else with questions, realizations, comments? I know it's Monday, the devotees are still having the weekend mood. So I hope the devotees may want to share something. Salika Prabhu, you have something to share? His Grace Vara Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
I've been overfed. If I say anything or ask anything more, I will be purging. So I want to go and ruminate. I want to go and meditate on the one that Gangaprasad has fed me today.
Yeah, I think actually devotees should not just the Q&A section, but the discussion of the text itself. I think devotees should try to go back to listen, because there was so much information in it. I certainly will. His Grace Varaha Prabhu, you have something to share, please? You may not be at the temple.
Sade Prabhu, we are live on YouTube.
Driving.
Oh, you're driving, okay. All right.
Are we live on YouTube? Are we live on YouTube? I would love to go and watch the program again, because I was on and off. So
Yeah.
Yes, we are live.
It's live, so we all can go back to watch it and hear it. Yes. All right. So on this note, we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute, and then we chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our utmost appreciation to His Grace Gangaprasad Prabhu's wonderful teaching. I have given him a title. He's a master teacher.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
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 Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Rama, Hare
Krishna,
Rama,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Panchakapa, Pariyascha, Kripa Sindhavya Ivacha, Nam Pavanabhyo, Vaishnavyo, Namo Namaha.
All glories to
Ananta
Grace
Koti Vaishnava.
Gangaprasad Prabhu ki.
Jai.
Jai.
Bhagwan ki jai.
Hare.